every section, there's a section help. Click here to have some more background information and explanation of the specific questions in that section. Remember, you can always email us at hq@seroptimistinternational.org if you need additional help or guidance. We'd also like to show you a new feature on some of the free entry boxes. You will notice a small triangle in the corner. Hover over the triangle until you see this arrow. Click and drag to make the box bigger or smaller as suits. This is mostly important if you want to print the screen or print the report to make sure everything you have entered in this box is visible. You will also notice that once you start to type in the box, you will see an indication as to how many characters you have left in that particular free entry box. We do have to limit the amount of text that you can input into the form, and this will let you know how much you have left. So, now that we have some of the basics done, let's get started. There's two ways to enter a program-focused report. The first is the traditional way. Here, we ask you to answer as many questions as possible, as fully as possible. Projects which enter full reports can be considered for inclusion in things like the Global Impact Report, best practices, and other publications and statements. However, a new feature is called the PFR Star report. If you're pressed for time or cannot fill out the full report form, you can do a PFR Star. Here, all you have to answer are the questions with a small red star next to them. Now, these are mandatory, so you cannot submit your report unless you have answered all of the starred questions. They represent the bare minimum level of information that we need to make your report usable. But it does provide a shorter, more succinct report form for those who wish. So let's get started. First, enter your federation. Next, tell us about your project type. These are now split into advocacy and/or awareness raising and action. We know that many projects will fall under both categories, but we need you to pick the primary category. We also know that Seroptimists do a lot of fundraising. Fundraising can fall into one of these two categories as well. If your fundraising involves some hands-on service or action, click Action. If your fundraising is something more about awareness raising, such as a breast cancer walk or a function, then click Awareness Raising. We'll leave this up to you because you know your project best. Part 2, Identification. Please enter the lead club. It's best to write this in the form SI Club Name. Please select your country. This list will automatically populate based on your federation. So here you can see all of the countries in SI Europe. Select a country. If you choose, enter a contact name. The next question is about your club contact email. There's two very important things to know about this question. The first is that we strongly recommend you give us this email address. This is the only way that we can reach out and get in touch with you about the status of your report, or to ask for more information about your project if you're being considered for inclusion in a publication. The other important aspect to note is that in this new form, this field will show up when you're searching through the database. So if another club comes across your project, thinks it's interesting, and would like to do a version of the project, they can then reach out to you directly for more information. This was an aspect that was brought to our attention through a large worldwide consultation we undertook last year. Many people wanted to be able to contact other clubs for more information about the project. You spoke, We listened. Please enter your project title. You'll note this is starred. The next question asks about others who were involved in the project. It could be friendship link clubs or other clubs, other organizations, or sponsorship. For example, perhaps a restaurant provided free food for your event, or perhaps a shopping center provided free space for a table. Tell us your target group: women, girls, women and girls, or other. Other is meant to include women and children or families. Enter the start date. You can also now tell us if this is an ongoing project. If it is, there's an option later on in the report where you can link different PFRs together if they're all part of the same project. If it is not an ongoing project, tell us your completion date. In Part 3, we'd like to know about which goals and objectives under SI's strategic plan your project falls. Again here, you can only tick one. We know that your project may touch upon more than one, but tell us the primary goal and objective. You will also notice that these are the new goals and objectives approved by your SI board in July 2011 at the Montreal board meeting. Most projects will fall under Goal 1. Some projects may be much more about profile raising or awareness raising about SI. For those, you can tick Goal 2. However, again, most projects will fall under Goal 1. Question 14 is very new. This is all about SI's new focus on education and leadership and our Educate to Lead global program of work. We would like to know if your project used education, empowerment, and enabling opportunities in a particular way. For example, your project may have been about improving access to healthcare, but you may have used training or education or leadership to achieve that objective. If you tick yes here, your project will be considered for inclusion in the Global Impact Report and other materials under this particular program. If you answered yes, we give you some space where we ask you to explain how and why you used education or leadership as part of your project. The next section goes into the details about your project, where we look at effects, activities, and inputs. First, we'd like to know what need your project addressed. What was the local need for women and girls that you set out to work on? Next, what activities did your project include? For example, if you were setting up a safe space or a library in your local community for teenage girls, this may have included consulting with the girls, finding a space, cleaning a space, advertising the space, collecting books, and so on and so forth. So tell us all about your activities in this section. Next, we'd like to know what it took to make this project happen. We look at finances, human input, material inputs, and other. For financial inputs, we are just looking for broad categories. This is meant to show how big or small your project was, and is primarily intended to tell other clubs who use the database to find projects that they could run to know how big or small the project was. You can tell us how many people worked on the project and how many hours they collectively spent. Maybe your supplies meant books, flyers, space, etc. Section 5 is all about the outputs. What did your project accomplish? Conversely, what did your project not accomplish that you wanted to? So first, please tell us how many women and girls benefited from your work. Again, going back to the library, how many girls utilized the library? If you have a specific number, which is ideal, you enter it here. If you don't have a specific number, you can choose from a general list which gives some categories. We'd also like to know if Seroptimists are included in that number. For example, you may have held an awareness-raising event at an annual meeting or a club meeting. So here, just tell us how many if Seroptimists were included in the overall number. We would also like to know how much money was raised, which directly benefited women and girls. This is slightly different than the cost of the project. The cost of the project, in the input section, tells us how big or how small the project generally was. The funds raised is about how much money specifically went to help women and girls. It may be the same amount, or it might be different. Next, did you achieve your desired effect? For example, were women empowered? Did their health improve? Did they learn? Essentially, based on the need that you set out, were you able to address that need? We've given you some options here. Yes, no, partly, I don't know, or not applicable. Please be honest here. It's just as important that we know about the projects that didn't work as the projects that did. We then give you some space to critically reflect on what didn't work. Maybe your activities didn't match the effect. So maybe you set something up that didn't actually achieve what you hoped it would. Maybe you didn't have enough people involved. Maybe there was a decision that went wrong in the process. Think about what went wrong and tell us. We'd also like to know if you would do this project again, what you might change, and why. Part 6 is new. Here, you can directly upload photos or PDF press clippings about your project. The maximum size is 5 megabytes, so do note you may have to resize your files before uploading them. Part 7 is what we referred to earlier, when you can answer if this is an ongoing project or not. Here, you can link report IDs if this is the second, third, fourth, etc. report form submitted under one project. So put all the related report IDs in this field, separated by a comma, without any spaces. Now, another new feature is the ability to save a report and come back to finish it later. So if you filled out some of the questions but want to return later on, simply click Save Report, and you will be taken to a screen where you see a unique number. Copy this number or make a note of it. When you return to the system, click on Retrieve Reports, enter your access code, and here you see, this is the report that we were just working on, and you can finish it now. When you are done, click Submit Report. Your report is then entered into a queue to be reviewed by your federation. If you have provided us with an email address and your report is approved, you will receive an email linking you directly to the report ID so you can search for your report and see it on the database. If, however, your report was not approved, you will receive an email explaining why, and you can then have the chance to log back in and edit your report or maybe start again. However, if you have not provided an email address, we will not be able to contact you about this.